Hi guys, this is Molly, and this is the Money Tracker report for the week of September 9th through the 15th. So for bills this week, I was holding out money for mortgage and utilities, and then I had medical bills and credit card 6 that were paired together. So if you're new to my channel, what I do is velocity banking, but I have a modified version of it because I do not have access to a HELOC, a PLOC, or credit cards that have 0% interest. So I use 5 credit cards that currently have a balance on them. They all have a relatively high balance, high minimum payments, and high interest rate. And I use those as my debt tool to pay off my primary card. And this is how it works. So I have credit card 6 that has a $185 minimum payment due. But I also have these medical bills over here that come to $202. So these are due around the same time. So the 185 and the 202, that would come to $387 if I paid them the traditional way. What I'm doing instead is I am using those medical bills to pay my credit card. So instead of paying the 185, I call up the credit card company and I make the payment for the exact amount of those medical bills. That's $202. I wait a couple of days for that balance to come off my credit card, and then I pay for those medical bills with that credit card. I don't do it all on the same day because I get charged on the average daily balance. So I want that balance to come down. And then as those bills come due, then I'm paying for it with that credit card. So I've met the obligation of the credit card because the credit card company does not care if I pay more than 185. They just want to make sure I pay at least that minimum. And I have also met the obligation of paying for those medical bills. So what happens with the $185 then is I'm able to funnel it to my primary card. And because I'm doing this with 5 separate credit cards where I'm matching bills to meet the obligation of the credit card minimums, I'm then able to take credit card minimum payments that I was going to pay anyway off of 5 different cards and channel it towards my primary card, the one that's costing me the most, with the highest minimum payment. So because of that, I have been able to just redirect about $1,000 a month onto paying off one particular credit card. That one gets paid down very quickly, and then I'm able to put the next credit card in its place and do the very same thing. Because before, when you're just letting a little bit of trickle of money with minimum payments go to all these various credit cards, you're not budging on paying down your debt. But if you can redirect that money, make sure everything's met, obligations are being met, but redirect that money towards your primary card, it's getting paid down very, very quickly. And you're able to move the next one in there. And if you have questions about interest, I have addressed that in videos, and I'll be addressing it repeatedly because that question does come up a lot. I'm not worried about interest whatsoever, and you'll see why when you look at those videos. But moving on. Okay, so on the right side of my page, like I said, $502 in bills was for this week. On the right side of the page is where I keep track of my primary card. Those are my variable expenses. Those are all budgeted. My budget is $382.25. I got these numbers from looking at 3 months of bank statements and 3 months of my credit card statements to see what my pattern of spending behavior is. And then I had to, come up with a realistic number that I could live with. And this was what I was able to come up with. So that primary card is being used as a debit card. And I am using it for a couple of different reasons. But the primary reason is if I were to take chunks of money and start putting it onto my primary card to pay that down, the credit card company is going to freak out a little bit and they're going to be like, oh, she's in trouble. And they're going to lower my limit. So they need to see that I'm still spending money on there. Okay. As I'm paying off these chunks, I'm not freaking them out and they panic and lower my limit. So I also use this for the rewards points, but that's kind of insignificant compared to the fact that I just don't want my limit decreased, because if my limit decreased, that significantly impacts my credit score, and we don't want that to happen. So at the bottom of the page, I'm keeping track of what my items are that I'm putting on that card. So I know in my head, I've got it written down that this is how much I want to spend for groceries. This is how much for fuel. Do I always come in under budget? No, I don't. The past 2 weeks, you can see if it's ever in red, I've gone over in that particular category. And if it's red down at the bottom, then I went over for that week. It happens. But again, the majority of the impact on paying off this debt for my primary card is coming from the fact that I no longer have to meet those monthly minimum payments for the other multiple cards that I have. It's the same amount of money. I'm not going out and getting another job or anything like that. I'm just redirecting the money to where it's going to do me the most good. Okay. So again, the budget this week was $382.25 for my variable expenses. I logged them down at the bottom of the page. What I actually spent was $217.60. That went on that card. And I logged that into my variable expense actual section. And then you can see that I've got $884.25. So if you're new to the channel, my husband's income is varied. So I like to keep track and see what do we need to make this week so that we are sure that we're going to meet our financial obligations. So that number comes from adding the bills this week of $502 and my variable expenses of $382.25. So I know if I'm just going to, meet the minimum this week, we need to make $884.25. What we earned for the week ending September 15th was $1,124. So I subtract the 502, and that leaves me with $622 that's going to be paid to my primary card. So the balance last Saturday, because again, I do this weekly, the balance last Saturday for this card was $8,655.14. I started spending this past week, and what I spent was $217.60. So that brought my balance to $8,872.74. I also got charged interest on this card on September 11th, so I'm adding that in at $157.48. So that brings my balance to $9,030.22 before I made my payment on it. My payment was $622, and that brought my balance down this past Saturday to $8,408.22. So in a week, I brought my balance down by $246.92. And that's how I use Velocity Banking with multiple credit cards.